I'm just going to preface this with asking the question, who the fuck am I? But ever since I seen Amy Sherald's work in Leimert Park, there were these like huge posters of her work surrounding art and practice. I think it was like the last Juneteenth before the pandemic. And I had to sit with the question that kept looping in my mind like a fucking house track. Why the fuck are these niggas gray? Why the fuck are these niggas gray? Why the fuck are these niggas gray? Like a house track over and over and over. It's 2026 and I still have that question. But recently, in my Black Genius group chat, someone shared a recent Amy Sherald 60 Minutes with Anderson Cooper. I took some notes. I'm going to reference them shortly. My initial entry point when it comes to holding an opinion is that the niggas felt flat. They were gray, and I immediately just thought of death. I felt like the figures were washed out. I felt like I felt like the black figures were really beside the point when looking at the paintings. I felt like the black figures were not important, not worth mentioning. That's how I initially felt. That has been the meditation for me for the past 5 years. Just ruminating on that every time Amy Sherald's work would come up, or I would see it in person, or I'd be in conversation with people. And initially it came off as like a perhaps an arrogance, um and then I would quickly ask myself, but like, what the fuck do you know? So this was the first time I actually sat down to watch a full artist talk. And then I started deep diving into other artist talks that she's had and lectures and panels, what have you. Her intention translates. There's no denying that she has the skills and technical abilities to translate scenes, environments, right? We cannot, I don't even have the power and I don't even want to take away that ability that she has. My opinion is almost beside the point. And as I sat with it more, listening to her artist talks, a word that kept coming up was fear. And I felt like that was a word or a story time that was not being explored more. And I believe it's not a story time or word that is explored more when she's discussing her work because of the accolades, because of how she's been championed, her work has been championed, because of the time she's invested in her work, because of the obvious technical abilities that she holds. And I fear the fears overlooked due to those things. So now that I've pushed past any arrogance, any ego, any opinions that really don't fucking matter because she exists, whether she exists, the work exists. There's three instances consistently that she brings up when she's discussing her work. Um, when she brings up fear. The first one is when she was studying in university and she had a professor express to her to keep the images gray and to essentially demelanate them, right? And if you've been to art school, if you're sitting in crit right now, if you have crit this week, you know and have an understanding on how impressionable you can be when you're sitting in the classroom because the professor, when you're first coming in, you deem them as like all knowing. Maybe that was just me, but you deem them as all knowing, like they know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't always know what the fuck they're talking about, but I have seen and I have experienced that even if I don't necessarily rock with the teacher or our frequencies are not really in alignment, there's something that they do know that can assist me technically, that can assist me philosophically, that can assist me economically, spiritually. There's always something that you can learn from each professor. And even if it seems like a I mean, sometimes these niggas do be sabotaging you, but it can seem sometimes like they're attempting to sabotage you. They may see something that you have yet to see in your work, or even realize that it's something that could take you to the next level. Perhaps this was what that professor's seeing. Gray niggas is going to take you to that next level. The second time she mentions fear is when she mentions that she doesn't want to be isolated to the black canon. I understand this. This is a sentiment that many artists who are black hold, not wanting to be isolated to the black canon. But I also believe that this somewhat does a disservice, because I do believe in many ways it is an artist expressing that the black canon is somehow lesser than any other canon that could potentially exist out in the world. That's how I receive it. The third one is um ooh, where are my notes at, y'all? I can't find it right now. So we'll just have to meditate with the two. But essentially, she didn't want to be marginalized, right? And then something else that she wanted to be aligned with, or maybe this is the third one, but I worded it in a way to where it seems like a new tangent that still connects. Let's just say this is number three. The third one is she maintained the gray figures because she believed that having these gray figures, these gray niggas alike, would align herself with those who have been heralded as the masters of realism. And some of the names mentioned in the 60 Minutes with Anderson Cooper are Edward Hopper, Andrew Wyeth, and Norman Rockwell. Um, and by doing so, aligning yourself with these masters of realism, you are now then not subjugated to a black corner, which, if you have a desire to align yourself with other names that have been associated with mastery, with the best, the greatest, and are put in environments and spaces where other people come in and they just understand off rip that the work is valued at a high level. I understand that, because you're trying to figure out, well, what can I make that could situate me here? Carrie James Marshall talks about that too, going into different museums, galleries, different names. What type of work can I make that situates me into the canon of mastery or greatness, value, high value? What can I do? What do I have to offer? I never really had any critiques of Marshall, and today I won't introduce any, but I do have a tangential memo that's coming up in my mind that I don't want to discuss right now. Oh my God. I love me some KJ. Um, my new observation when it comes to Amy Sherald is that she decided that demelanating or maintaining demelanated black figures allowed for her to enter into these spaces. And so it has me thinking about how fear has led you to this point. And in that fear, which seems to be a graceful fear, it's not really an aggressive one. Seems that's how it's been received when I listen to her talk. Fear, demelanated figures in spaces where black figures don't typically exist. And in many in I'm sitting with this and I'm thinking they low key still don't exist because they're grayed out. Perhaps the figures are there, but the resonance of hue is not. It doesn't exist. They exist as shadows, they exist as former selves, they exist as the Blue Sisters, they exist as ghosts, almost ghost like. And that's what I've been sitting with. I haven't been able to articulate an actual question yet, but this is just a meditation on demelanated figures and Amy Shell's work and how fear is the design principle being used, and whether or not that fear and the demelanated figures are still perpetuations of an oppressive system at play in action. But her intention is translating. Her intention is once you get over the fact that the figures are identifiably black through phenotype, you can then start meditating with the things in the background, whether it be grass, whether it be cars, trucks, bikes, shoes. She loves garments. She collects garments and she waits for the right model or the right person who she feels like is in direct alignment with garments that she's collected throughout time. And all of these things you get to sit with. And so the things become the stories instead of the person becoming the story. There's some tension there for me. This is just my personal opinion. These are my personal reflections on Amy Shell's work. I'm gonna circle back after I publish the piece. I'm still working on it. Uh, yeah, I'm still working on it, but I'm gonna publish it and I'll share it with you all.